Hey everybody, welcome back to Brent's Backyard Redneckery. You know, it's that time of year, once again, where the yard is covered with little yellow flowers called dandelions. Today we're going to go around and pick a bunch of these things and see what we can do with them. Dandelion wine, dandelion jelly, I don't know, let's find out. Stay tuned, I'll tell you what you need to do. So as I'm walking around my yard, coming across all these little beauties. Now supposedly, you can make wine, jelly, honey mead, all kinds of stuff out of these. So I'm going to go around the yard today and I'm going to cut every one of these I can and we'll see how many I come up with. We'll find out whether or not we can actually make something out of it. When it comes to harvesting these things, it's actually just as simple as popping the head off. You just take it and poke. That's it. Simple as can be. One other thing you'll notice is there are still going to be other dandelions that are hanging out around all these. You don't want to pick those because they're obviously not open yet, but you might want to check back the next day and find out they are and have more like this. Let's see if I can capture this guy. Check him out. He's having a good old time right there eating out of this flower. Freaking love bees. Hope we get a whole lot more this year, but isn't he a beauty? So far, we got a pretty good little amount. I've got this food lion bag filled up about that far, which I'm guessing is about a quart and a half. But there's another thing I'm going to go look at now. As you can see, this is the creek behind my house, and across the creek is the community garden. So I'm going to go over there and see if I can find some dandelions over there. Hopefully, I won't fall in. We're going to find out just how slick these rocks are and whether or not I can balance and make it across. So far, so good. All right. Yep. Okay, I'm going to make it. Let's go up here and see what we can find. So here's the spot of our community garden. Obviously, nothing's happened yet. We're going to walk this patch though, see if I can't find some. Oh look, dandelions. All right, I've collected more over from the other side of the creek here at the community garden. Also found some crap over there that people should have cleaned up but didn't. I guess I shouldn't be surprised at the laziness of people, but this is what I came up with. I mean, if nothing else, I got 7 new little plant containers I can use to transfer. And about another quart of dandelion. So let's go see what we can make out of this. So I've finished picking my dandelions. Let's take a look and see how many I got. So I ended up with 3 bags here, all full dandelions. Well, not full, but got quite a few in here anyway. So the next step is going to be taking these heads here, and I've got to get all that yellow out and get rid of all the green. So I'm going to try a couple different ways. I'm going to try squeezing these to release all the stuff that's in there. And if that doesn't work, I'm going to snip them off right there with some scissors, and put them all in a bowl and see how much we come up with. And the ones inside this bag look a lot more sad because I had a little bit of something come up and I couldn't do this all at one time. So I put these in the freezer to keep them from rotting. So they might have a little bit of frost burn on them, but I think they're going to turn out just fine. I'm going to throw out any that just look terrible. But once they're completely thawed, I'm going to get them all done. And then I'll show you results of what it looks like. All right, so you can see what they look like on the inside. This is what it's going to look like once it's split open. And then we're going to have petals like that and put them all together. See if we can't make ourselves some wine. All right, so I've tried different methods, but so far this is the best I've come up with. Just take my pruning shears like that. And then I'll peel off the green crap. And then that's what I've got left. And that's what's going into the bucket over here. And that's what I've got so far. Looking pretty good. So this is how much I got out of today's pickings. Not too shabby. And one thing that I did learn here, if you see this piece here, is the ones that were frozen, they're a little bit wet. So what I'm going to have to do here is put them on a cookie sheet, and I'm going to put them outside and let them dry for a little bit because I tried cutting them. They don't work too freaking good. So I'm going to take care of that, let them dry out, and then I'm going to finish up all this toil and this hard work. So these are all of our ingredients for our dandelion mead. We've got the dandelion petals, we've got raw honey, golden raisins, an orange, a lemon. We're going to zest those and use the juice. We've got our filtered water, we've got wine tannin, yeast nutrient, acid blend, pectin enzyme, and sodium Camden tablet. So we're going to get all this going and make ourselves that dandelion mead and see how it turns out. All right, so we're going to start our mead. Go ahead, and we've got 1 quart of water here. I'm going to toss that in, and we're going to put in this whole bottle of honey, 2 pounds. We'll see how long it takes for this to come out. So far, it's been about a minute, so I think I'm going to put the lid on, let it all settle to the bottom. So now I've got all the honey in. I'll get this up to a boil here. And once that's up to a boil, we'll let it boil for 20 minutes and then remove it from the heat. Our next step is going to be to get the zest from an orange and a lemon. So you can do this while you're waiting on your water and honey to boil. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of this, and we'll get on to the next step. All right, so we have reached our boiling. I'm just going to set the timer for 20 minutes, and I'm going to keep stirring this, so hopefully it won't burn and stick to the bottom or something stupid and completely ruin this. All right, so the timer just went off. We're just going to scoot this over, let it sit right here until it gets completely cool. So the next thing we got to do is juice these bad boys. I was going to use my juicer, but it makes a really big mess, so I'm going to hope that this hammer will get it out. Go ahead and give it a try. There goes nothing. Nothing indeed. There we go. It ain't the greatest juicing method, but I think it's going to work for me. So I'll go ahead and get both those knocked out. Then we'll go to the next step. Once you have both of those juiced, you're going to want to take this and pour it through a fine mesh sieve. Make sure you get out all the chunks and the seeds and pour that right into our honey mixture. So next step is go ahead and get your scale and a bowl. So we have to put a ½ pound of white raisins in there. We'll go ahead and tear that out. And I've got these golden raisins from Spicy World. I tried a few though. They're not spicy, so we're good. ½ pound, we're looking for 8 ounces. Almost there. I think that'll probably be close enough. 8.32. So now we have to chop these, and we're going to use these mixed with our zest, mixed with the dandelion petals to make our mead. All right, since we don't want these pureed, I'm just going to toss them in here and pulse them a little bit so we can get them chopped up a little bit more than they are, so maybe they'll blend in better. I guess that's why you want to chop them, because they're not really full of super juice, but let's see what happens. All right, now we're loaded up. Let's see what happens. It's looking pretty good. Let's look inside. Yeah, about what I figured. Not super chopped up, but they are nice and gummy now. So go ahead and get these ready and out of this thing. I'm just going to put them back in this bowl here. And now we're going to mix all this up with our petals and our zest. All right, so we've got our chopped raisins, our lemon and orange zest, our dandelion petals. We're going to put it all in this bag, and this is what's going to sit down inside the honey water to start making our mead. So I think the easiest way to do this is to take this like this, flip it upside down, shake those in there. Come on, get out. Well, I guess I was wrong. All right then, never mind. I guess I'll have to put them in this bowl. And then we'll put them in there. Now, go ahead and get all this stuff in here. And then we'll look at our next steps. Once you have everything mixed, pull these strings together and tie it off so that stuff doesn't leak out of the bag. All right, now that this stuff's cooled down, we're going to pop it in here. We have to bring the volume up to where it's a half a gallon, which is going to be 8 cups, 2 quarts right there. So we ended up with 6 cups of honey and water, and we've got to add enough water to bring this up to 8 cups, bringing us to half a gallon. Need to get this mixture down to around 68 to 72 degrees, so we're going to pop it in the fridge until this gets cooled down before moving on. So while our honey water is cooling, I'm going to go ahead and mix all of these into here. The only thing we're not putting in yet is the actual yeast. We'll pitch that later. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and measure all this stuff out and put it in that little bowl. And so each one of these ingredients takes a half a teaspoon, except the wine tannin, and that gets 1/8 of a teaspoon. So I'm going to go ahead and get this stuff mixed up, and we'll see how much longer I have to wait for that other stuff to cool down. All right, so once this is cooled down, we're going to want to check our specific gravity. So we're going to fill up this tube and see what basically what our sugar content is to start with. And hopefully I don't make too big of a mess here. All right. Wow. This is probably going to end up being really alcoholic. So it looks like our specific gravity is 1.153 roughly. Now that we've got a reading, we're just going to pour this back in there. We're going to combine everything into our primary fermenter and get this process started. The one thing I hate about these Pyrex glass, whatever these things are called, is it always drips down there. It never pours out correctly, so I'm going to have to scoop it out. All right, toss all that in. Give that a good stir. And then we'll set that bag of dandelion petals, the zest, and the raisins down in here and cover this with a towel. And we're going to let it sit overnight for 12 hours, and then we'll pitch our yeast. All right. This goes in. Get that down in there to soak. So I'm going to have to waterlog it. So I'll mess with that, and then I'll cover it with a towel. So this has just got to be covered overnight for 12 hours. And tomorrow, we'll check it out and see what we got. All right, so it's been 12 hours. Let's go ahead and look at this, and then we'll pitch our yeast. All right, so we'll just pull this towel off, see what we got in there. That looks really gross. Yeah, looks pretty disgusting. It's time to pitch the yeast, though, so we'll get that in there. First, I'm going to take a specific gravity with this stuff in it and see what kind of reading I have. So the specific gravity is showing 1.160. Now that we got all that stuff in there, I guess it made it a little bit sweeter with the raisins and the zest. So we'll go ahead and pop this back in the jar. We'll get that yeast pitched and get this going. All right, so whenever you're pitching your yeast, you really just want to pour it in there to where it's all in that liquid, and then give it a slight stir. So this is what you're going to have once you have your yeast in there. It's just going to look even more disgusting. But that's going to mix with our must there. And that is going to start breaking down the sugars and turning this into alcohol. Once again, I'm just covering this up with a towel. We're going to go for 7 to 10 days, letting this ferment until the major amounts of fermentation stop. And I'll be checking this to stir it once a day for 10 days, 7 to 10 days, depending on when the bubbles stop. And then we will rack it into the secondary fermenter and go from there. But for right now, that's where we're at. I'll make an update video to this later. But if you guys have enjoyed this, you learned something, share it with your friends, leave me a comment, come back next time, tell you what you need to do. Have a good one.